Sorry for the delay. I was resisting the urge to play the outro sequence instead.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to SkepTalk on the line. I am Shannon Q, and today is, what even is today? The 25th of September, 2023, and our lines are now open. If you would like to give us a call, there's a link in the description if you would like to use your puper, your beep boop to give us a call, or you can call us the old-fashioned way on your rotary phone. It's 720-619-2288. Give us a call and tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're right. Tell me how pretty my hair looks today, and tell Will how cool he is. Let's introduce our guest today. Our guest today is somebody who I found over on TikTok and just fell madly in love with, and he does stuff like that over there. I will let him tell you about himself, but I thought he would be exceptionally well suited to this environment. So this is Will. Will, say hi to the people. Tell the people who you are and where to find you.
Hi, people. So I'm Will. You might know me as Will's Backup on TikTok. I do things similar to this, so I've been doing it for about 2 years, just doing lives, debating lots and lots of people on TikTok. I debate a lot of progressive issues like being pro-choice, being pro-LGBT, agnostic atheism, and a lot of this show. And fun fact, I started getting into the debating scene watching Shannon and her work on the atheist experience. Crazy. If y'all wanna find me more, I do have a YouTube. The link is in the bio there. Because I'm trying to get more on YouTube, because TikTok's not a fan of me, so we're going to do some work on YouTube, and also it's great to be on the line. So thank you so much for inviting me, Shannon. I appreciate it.
I'm stoked to have you here. I was watching some of your lives, and you have myriad people call in. Like, you basically just kind of hold court and allow people with all manner of wacky beliefs to come in and have conversations with you. And I enjoy your demeanor and your rhetorical strategies. So I think that you do a great job. And you talk about a lot of the stuff that's near and dear to my heart, like women's rights and LGBT rights and abortion and bodily autonomy and trans rights, and I loves you for it. So what got you into it initially? While we're waiting for a couple calls to come through, so the screeners are busy.
Oh, it's a fun story. What got me into specifically, it was a bit of a long development. I mean, quite honestly, the first debate show I really watched was the Atheist Experience, and then I was like, slay, I can do this. So then I went on Omegle, and I was like, wow, I love debating people. And then flash forward a few more years, and then I joined randomly this one woman's live who was pro-life, and I argued basically just the bodily autonomy argument, and she had basically no response. She was part of a large national pro-life organization that is slipping my name right now, and I was like, oh, these people have no clue what they're talking about. This is insane, and they're getting millions of views. Maybe we can counteract this. Maybe there's some good work to be done stating the obvious. So then I just got into it, and it was I found a good community, and now there's a really good community on TikTok around debating and engaging in issues like this that I found a lot of good people and good times in. It brings joy.
It's great. Given the current climate, it's really nice to see more people entering the fray, countering with good argumentation and good rhetorical strategies. I absolutely love it, and I'm so glad that you're doing it, and I hope people go over there and check you out. But before they do that, they have to stay here and check you out here, because we have calls literally coming in like crazy. I'm not sure what's going on. I know they're still in the screening room. We have one screener who's working very, very hard. We have several calls coming in. So if you want to get a call in, please, for goodness sakes, call in now, because it looks like they're starting to back up relatively quickly today. What kind of calls are you looking to take today? Well, if you had a dream caller, somebody to call in, what type of call would you want? I always like to see.
So I don't know. It depends if I'm up for a challenge or just kind of hedonistic. So I mean, my forte is debating pro-choice argumentation, right? That's my bread and butter. But engaging in LGBT issues also near and dear to my heart. And that's when maybe I'll get a little more, more personal, more engaging in emotional issues that are more get new things coming out of my mouth rather than just the same, just obviously true things about pro-lifers. So I'm down for really anything. Just for any of the people watching, I am also like a leftist. I just have general leftist progressive ideas. So if you are a hater of leftists, pull up.
All the things that enrage all the people.
Yeah, I really am. I'm also a training lawyer, so
oh wow! Is that what you're studying? I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah. I study.
Very cool.
Yeah, I study law at just so I do a BA of jurisprudence at Oxford. Okay. So I'm studying English and Welsh law. So
wow,
it's very boring, but it gets interesting sometimes.
I'm sure it will be exceptionally interesting, and that they will be very, very lucky to have you. All right, so we've got one in the screening room. Bless the screener, and there's more coming in. Wow, I don't know if people are more excited to talk to you or to talk to me, but we're getting flooded right now. I feel thank you very much to the screener. This is not an easy job. I know. I'm sorry, especially when we fled you right from jump. I'm not sure, Jimmy. Who's screening today? Can you hear me to at least type or tell me who's in the screening room so that I can say thank you personally to the poor screener that we just... American. Thanks, American. We appreciate you. Thank you. You're doing a really good job. So
yes, much love.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Much
to
love.
them.
That
to
sounded
them.
really sarcastic. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to be sarcastic. I was just
no.
Right. So you initially saw... Well, I'm interested that you saw me in the atheist experience. I didn't really know. I knew that you had seen me. I didn't realize that I was one of the people that you first saw when you entered into the debating sphere. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That's neat. It makes me feel old, but that's okay. I am old, so it's all right to feel that way. When you say you're going to kind of parlay onto YouTube, did you start a channel over on YouTube already, or is that something that you're going to do soon? Or do you already have a YouTube channel? I have.
It's linked in the bio.
Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, awesome. Do you have anything posted up there yet? I'm sorry to ask. I've only followed you on TikTok, so I want to know more about where you have stuff so that I can go check it out.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, I'm doing a bit of a cheat. So my YouTube is just going to be reposted to my TikTok for a while. So it's all my TikToks that have done well. By the way, yeah, we can talk about it later. I was working really hard on this and I found some cool things. But yeah, so I'm basically just reposting a lot of mine. But also, what will be coming is clips of my old lives, because I have all of my lives downloaded and saved. So I have like 400, 500 hours of me debating downloaded and saved that just needs to be processed by me. So I'm going to be posting clips of that because often, they're inappropriate or vulgar or something that TikTok won't necessarily appreciate and will get really annoyed at me for. So I'll be posting those on YouTube as well. So yeah, you'll get some bonus content.
I can't wait to see them. Yeah, that's awesome. And anybody who hasn't checked it over on TikTok, so your long form conversations, I'm a big fan of long form conversation. That's kind of what I do over on my channel. I love a good long form dialogue because you can really delve deep down in a one-on-one conversation if you're a good rhetoricist into exactly what's at the heart of what somebody believes. All right, we have our first call. Are you ready? Are you ready for your inaugural call, Will? Let's go.
I am. I'm prepared.
We're going to talk to Stephen. Hello, Stephen. You were on the line. What would you like to talk about today?
Good evening, Shannon, and nice to meet you, Will. I have been consuming this kind of content for a really long time, and I have found, particularly since I moved to Pennsylvania, as I encounter people, they tend to pay more close attention to issues that might affect me, specifically LGBT issues, but unless it directly affects them, I've been really shocked at how little people realize about women's rights issues, about atheist agnostic issues, about civil rights issues across the board. And because I've been consuming this content and information for so long, well before Will was born at the very least. I feel like if I bring them information, it's very easy for me to overwhelm somebody. In fact, my husband and I were talking about a hobby of mine that I just took for granted he would know more stuff about, and his eyes just kind of glazed over. So I'm looking for your best advice on sort of a primer or an introduction to some of these more complicated social issues in particular that I can present to people rather than necessarily my perspectives, which are, somewhat more maturely developed, we'll say, than the average person. And that's kind of what I'm asking about, is what advice would you give that I could direct someone to, whether it's content or a book or something of that nature? And now I'll stop talking.
Oh, I could, depending on the subject matter, I could recommend 1,000 books. And depending on the person, I could recommend different types of content. I think people are so very individualized in what would compel them differently. And unless you know the root of exactly where they formed that belief from, it's difficult to know exactly how to specifically address them in a way that would be compelling for them. So,
well, if I could break in, then just because of where I am, I live in Amish country, and generally speaking, forgetting the Amish for 1 second, just to give you an idea of where I am, but generally speaking, very conservative, very religious people, and it's been fortunate that they've turned out to like me. So suddenly they're more pro LGBT, which I'll take for the moment. But when it comes to other issues, I feel like, so for example, with the LGBT stuff, I feel like they start to look at things like, oh, this is how it's going to affect Stephen, so maybe I should think about this a few more minutes before I jump to the conclusion that I thought of before, because he's a good person and I like him and I don't want his rights taken away, as one example, where I'm not a woman and I'm well past childbearing age if I were. So it's when we get into right to life issues or those sorts of things, it's harder for me to have that conversation there. In fact, my husband is like, why are you worried about that? We're not going to have kids. And I'm like, well, because, we know girls and women who are going to be encountering these issues. And it's not like it was when we were growing up. We had 50 years of Roe v. Wade, and now that's gone. And I'm looking at our nieces and my stepdaughter and people of that age where I'm like, we have to worry about these things now. And he's my own issue and I won't ask you to advise me on him. But in terms of the greater public, it's sort of like that, where I'm dealing with a lot of conservatives. I'm making inroads and I'm proud of myself for that. But I feel like I'm still somewhat overwhelming in the perspective I bring. And now I'll be quiet again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're okay. The clarity helps. So with a lot of deeply entrenched conservative people, I think it becomes more difficult because they are essentially dehumanizing women in order to hold that position, maybe without realizing, similar to the way that you say that people have more empathy to you towards issues that pertain to you once they recognize your humanity. People who have sort of patriarchal views and see women as maybe essentially kind of belonging to husbands and belonging to society and belonging to children. It's a little bit more difficult because first thing you need to do is get them to see women as humans like them who deserve the same sorts of rights, and that's a hard hill to climb. I will. Will talks about this all day, every day, probably to more people than either of us. So I'm going to throw it to Will. This is your issue, bud.
What talking to
talking to conservative
every
people about
person.
Abortion. That's what you do all day.
I do love it. So I mean, I guess it kind of just comes down to a rhetorical strategy and kind of knowing what your goal there is. And the biggest thing, you could go into rhetorical strategy for hours, right? There are books written about it, and I won't go into that. But basically, the biggest thing that I would say is being very conscious about what of their preconcepts you use, and then how you can have discussions that don't engage with preconcepts they have, right? So if you say I don't know good examples of this, but like when I'm talking, a lot of the time when I talk to conservatives about being pro-life, I'll talk about freedom, liberty, right, rights. Those things are really important to conservatives, at least verbally, right? Like they believe verbally in the concept. So when I use it, they're like, liberty, cool, I know that. That's what the eagle is. Like they get it. Symbolically, it makes sense. But then when I can't bring up their symbols and kind of make them understand that really means they should be on the good side, you kind of have to bring it outside of that context. So when we're talking about bodily autonomy for abortion, right, oftentimes I'll talk, hey, what if you took my kidney, right? I'm a white, straight passing, sometimes cis man, right? A conservative will value me, right, and my bodily autonomy 10 times more than some other people in societies, right? So if I'm trying to make a point, bringing it into an example where I don't have to pass those prejudices, and then at the end being say, okay, now what if I'm a woman, right? They're not going to be on their face sexist, typically, right? So if you can just immediately make the prejudice clear at the end, you make the point about rights, and then you turn it and say, okay, now let's apply this to everyone because we believe in equality, right? That is what I find to be best. So either you keep within the context, you twist the context, or you take it out of the context and then bring just equality and like very basic justice into it. And that's what I found works the best with conservatives.
Yeah, pointing out the slippery slope in that too. That's what I do a lot when I talk about bodily autonomy. It's like, if you're allowing a circumstance where somebody's bodily autonomy can be infringed on for life maintenance, then you're opening a door that eventually people will come through for you. You don't think it's you now, but people can come through for you because you're setting a precedent. So I like that strategy. I like the using their symbols. That is interesting. I might adopt some of that strategy. I like that strategy because they like those buzzwords, right?
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
And there's not a lot of meaning to them behind those buzzwords, right? Like it's used by the right as excuses to do horrendous things. Mm-hmm. So if we can turn it around and say, oh, this is actually meaningless, let's just give it our meaning, does the exact same thing.
Yeah, just shine up the propaganda and give it back to them. Interesting.
Exactly.
Very cool. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. What do you think of that, Stephen?
Very helpful. I hadn't really thought of it that way. It's funny because some of my conversations that get heated will go there, but by that point, I think it's escalated too much where we're angry with each other and nobody's listening anymore. So I think I appreciate Will's perspective of, if you kind of start from that perspective in a civil conversation and you depolarize or de-escalate by just making it, well, let's just talk about rights and bodily autonomy, and then I'm like, hey, wait a minute, and suddenly turn it on its head, I can see where that would be really effective and more effective than what I've been doing. I mean, I'm fortunate that people like me. So, and my husband and I are turning into that nice same-sex couple that lives down the road. And we live in a place where there's one road, so we're down the road from everybody. It's already becoming a nice thing because we're very community oriented, and we go out to the farmers markets and things like that. So people are seeing us and recognize us, and oh, didn't I see you the other day? Not in church, of course, but other places. And we're not running into too many issues. They also don't know us that well, but what they do know, they're like, oh, they're that married couple that moved in and they're both male. And what does that mean? And well, they keep their lawn neat, so I guess they're okay. And it goes from there. So I'm fortunate in that regard. But again, with some of these discussions, as we branch out and I get more involved politically here in particular, that's just very useful, Will. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, Stephen. Well, thank you very, very much. I will let you go for today, and we appreciate calling. Give us a call back sometime and let us know how it worked out. I want to see how
Shannon.
You're putting your homework into action, Stephen. Have a good rest of your day.
Absolutely.
See ya.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I enjoy that. I really like the idea of using the buzzwords that they use. I think that is really neat. I like that. I love that as a rhetorical strategy. You might see me employ that. I'll give you credit, I promise. But I like that.
No, I don't need credit. Like Socrates wrote about it. It's not
oh, okay.
anything
well, I'll
original.
Give him credit then. All right. Well, while we're waiting for a few more calls, the lines are still open. We did just have a couple of calls drop, so there is room if you would like to get in and give us a call. I just wanted to let everybody know that if you would like to support the channel and everything that we do here, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/call the line. And we also have some upcoming shows that you might be interested in. I'm just going to get the Google link to open, which it's not going to for me because I'm the best host in the world and the most professional. And everybody always says that I'm the best. There it is. Okay, perfect. So
That's what I
this
hear.
week we have they lied to you. This week we have on Tuesday Dying Out Loud with Dave Warnock and Matt Dillahunty. On Wednesday we have I don't know who's hosting on Wednesday. Is it just Jimmy? Are you by yourself on Wednesday, Jimmy? Are you just running things on your own?
Yeah, I'm doing some stuff. Gonna do some Sometime Show preview stuff.
Okay, cool. So it's Jimmy on the Hang Up on Wednesday. On Thursday, it is going to be the Transatlantic Call-In Show with Aron Ra and Dr. Ben. That's at 2 p.m. And then on Saturday, there is that really happening? No, I don't think that's happening. And then on Sunday, there is a Sunday show with Jimmy Snow and Forrest Valkai. Oh, that will be fun. You and Forrest will be fun. That's at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So go check out the rest of the stuff that we have going on the line. And support us because we're cool. And I'm the best host who's the most organized. Just support us because of that. All right. Awesome. Are you ready to take another call, Will?
Absolutely.
So we can buy Shannon hosting lessons. All right. We are going to talk to Justin. Come on up, Justin.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi, Will and
Justin.
Shannon.
You are on the line. What would you like to talk about?
So I am, first of all, I want to show my appreciation to you for taking the time to speak with me today. I am a recovering fundamentalist. I've over the last couple of years, I've successfully deconstructed a lot of my beliefs surrounding God and the supernatural. Part of that, thanks to you all. I question things I'd never thought to question before, and I'm appreciative of that as well. I'm here today to talk about abortion. I'm happy to engage with Shannon, both you and Will. I'll say right up front that I do identify as pro-choice. However, I do still have some lingering questions and things I don't fully understand. So I'm hoping to get out of this discussion maybe to have a dialogue with you to maybe help refine some of my beliefs and shed some light on things I hadn't thought about in a certain way before. So to get right to the point, I recently watched the video of a discussion that Matt Dillahunty had with Destiny. And Destiny brought up some interesting things that I hadn't fully considered, specifically the duty to care for the unborn. So generally, I am very, I'm very in tune and I'm good with the bodily autonomy argument. I think that's the best argument that I've come across to support a pro-choice position. But I've been thinking about this duty to care for the unborn, and specifically in situations where you have engaged in an activity that's resulted in a fetus becoming alive. Not to bring this into the human or not discussion. I'm not going there, but it is. I hope you would agree, alive without its consent. And so by placing that into a state of being alive without its consent, what duty do you have to care for it, even at the expense of your own bodily autonomy, if any?
What duty do you have to care for? Well, I don't have the duty to do anything at the expense of my own bodily autonomy. If I enter into a social contract which is essentially and ostensibly with that blastocyst zygote embryo fetus all the way along the line, then I am taking on that responsibility knowingly and willingly. If I take on that social contract, then, I should take care of myself to take care of the fetus. And if I continue that social contract, then I will take care of that child. That's what I did with my human child that I'm continuing to keep alive right now. If I had not wanted to do that, if I had not wanted to, for whatever reason, and none of the reasons matter, then I can relinquish the right to my body. Now, do we as a society potentially have a social contract is a broader question. Like if you think that there are things that we as a society should do, an obligation to that living thing, since you're saying it's a living thing. If you think that there should be an obligation, that obligation shouldn't just be on the person whose body it resides within. If you think there is any, that obligation should be the obligation of society. So if you think that we should invest in technologies and infrastructure that will sustain those, living things outside until they're viable on their own, then cool, do that then. But it's not the responsibility of the person whose body it resides within. I don't know, Will, maybe you differ.
Yeah. Oh, this question fills me with glee. This is precisely the question
Okay,
that I've
I'll
worked
mute,
on.
just drink my tea.
I love this question. It's a delightful question because this is the question I've worked on like in pro-choice organization for a long time. Yeah. Because this is so you hit on a really important points that are like intuitively clear, Shannon, which is that there's no reason to believe that it's specific to the parent. That's something that's really important. Is we can all agree that society maybe has an obligation to all of us, right? Like society maybe has an obligation to feed people, to take care of children. That's why we see guardianship of children being taken over, right? Like the wardship of the state. There are a lot of things that see children taken care of, and legal enforcements to make sure children are taken care of. That's where child neglect comes from. But from my view, right, and this is the view that I've argued for a while, which is that creating a child, right, cannot itself create an obligation, right? It cannot simply be the act of creating a child, because that obligation would have no limit, right? There would be no point at which I could say, no, you don't have to, give a liver, kidney, heart, medicine that doesn't exist, medicine that's $2 million. There's no limit to that understanding of child negligence. And a lot of pro-lifers will argue this. They'll say, well, you created this child. They'll say it's a child. I'll just engage with it being a child. So you've created this child that needs you to live. If you knew that that dependency was going to happen, if you knew that they would need you, you have to keep them alive by providing what they need. The difficulty with that is that there's no clear limit to that. Right? At no point does it say you don't have to give your heart or you don't have to give this medicine that doesn't exist yet. So from that view, it seems clear to me that you can't build a obligation structure. Right? I'm a very legalistic mind. This is coming from law. Is like we can't have a legal obligation structure that is from creation. We can only have a legal obligation structure that would be from denial. And that's where I think we get a lot of child neglect cases, which is when you take your child home from the hospital, you're telling society, hey, society, I know you offered to take care of this child. You offered food, housing, shelter, right? Reasonable medicine to this child. But I'm taking you away from the hospital where they can provide that. So now I'm going to do it, right? But the interesting thing about when a fetus is in your womb is you didn't do that, right? No one else can take care of it, at least up until viability. And that's how I would address that, is up until viability, you're not taking it away from anyone. No one else can help. So there's just no foundation for any obligation. And on the contract thing, yes, the intercourse was consensual, but that you need more than just consent to have a contract. You need another party. And the other party that you would have an obligation to doesn't exist at the time of the consent. So it just can't be a contract to the fetus. So yeah, I would address it in those two ways. Yeah.
Agree.
Excellent. Well, thank you both very much. You've given me a lot to think about. I think I'll have to go back through the VOD and listen to that a couple of times and let it sink in, but I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, so you didn't have any follow-up questions? We were both just so succinct and clear that we actually got that almost never happens.
I think I owe it to. Yeah, thank you very much. No, I think I owe it to you and myself to really think that over a lot and see how it might, affect my thinking before I come up with any follow-on questions. So for now, I think I'm satisfied by that. And again, you've given me a lot to think about. So thank you.
Oh, no, that's great to hear. If you do think more about it and feel as though you have more questions, then you know where to find us. We'll be here.
Thank you both very much. And Will, I will definitely, I don't have TikTok, but my wife does. So I will check you out there.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thanks you so
Justin.
much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Very cool. Yeah, I've often thought about that because every time somebody says, well, you have an obligation, it's like, well, no, not really. Because if I had the child, I no longer have that obligation because I can have the child and go, nope, here you go. So I'm not taking this child home. In fact, that's their counter argument, is that if you have the child, you can just have it and then give it away, right? So they're ostensibly saying to me, you don't have an obligation to this child. It's not your job to take care of it, but it's your job to provide your body for it now. And I'm saying, well, both of those things like can be true. Like, it can not be my job to take care of it and also not be my job to provide my body for it. If anything, that's like you adding an extra level of obligation specifically to me. And if you're saying, well, society will do it, okay, then create a technology that it can come out of me and you can take care of it then. And until then, shut up. Like, if I don't want to be pregnant, then I don't have to be pregnant. The end. Every time I've been pregnant, I've wanted to be, but go.
And the really important part is that it will never be only your body. This is like, obviously a lot of mine come from debate, but this is a really important point in it, which is that at no point will you be the only one that can take care of it, because then you couldn't put them up for adoption. How does adoption work if this obligation includes your organs? Do the adoptive parents come back to you and sue you? No, of course not. So it has to be some limited thing, and it can't just be when it's just your womb. Okay, then it doesn't fall into the obligation. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Cool. All right. You ready to take another call? We still have a couple more lines open, not many. All right. Cool. All right. So we are going to talk to Chris from Texas. Chris from Texas, you are on the line. What would you like to talk about today?
Hey, Shannon. Hey, Will. Will, I love your content. So, thank you guys for taking my call. I wanted to kind of call and talk about, I guess, religious people. And whenever I meet them, it's hard for me to not feel like or assume of things of them from people from my past, you know?
Okay.
So I was kind of like raised in a Reformed Baptist Calvinistic theology, and, you know, dedicated all my teen and college years serving as a worship leader at, you know, big churches and all that. And, you know, I went to a Baptist university, somebody outed me, and they put me through conversion therapy. And
I'm so sorry.
Me too. It sucks. And one of those things is that, like, I was a Christian like my whole life, and I was trying to like stay in the faith, you know? I mean, I dedicated my whole life to it, really. But when I started to invest into like some progressive Christianity, it definitely made me it made me feel more comfortable with asking questions. And then when I started asking questions, that's when everything fell apart. And now that I'm kind of told that I gave into my sin and that I'm a lost sheep and who's going to go to hell if I don't stop being gay and all that. But the thing is like, anytime I meet a Christian now, I kind of just have a strong tendency to assume bad intentions from them. And yeah, I don't know. I really care about this a lot because, you know, their belief in this evil God really influences how they vote when they get to polls. It affects women's rights, which we were just talking about, you know, especially they evangelize using fear tactics and just pure hatred. And I don't know, it's disguised behind their own, you know, religious beliefs, but it's almost like it's a loophole for them to try to say that their hate is okay. And, you know, the thing is, I hate making assumptions about people, but it's kind of hard to not resort to that. And Shannon, I know you have a psychology background, so I just wanted to hear from you both, if you guys have had experience with that. What were some things that you all did, I guess, to kind of, you know, cross that bridge?
First and foremost, you need to do what you can to protect yourself. So if people are espousing or beliefs around you, or just publicly advocating for beliefs that people like you don't deserve respect or don't deserve rights in society, you can remove yourself from that situation. You owe them no quarter. But all that is to say, not everybody who is a Christian is going to align with that. I understand the trauma response that, you know, people like this have used this specific idea to wield against me, to harm me and people like me. And I don't like that, don't want it, don't want to be around it, but also don't want to fall trapped to the same sort of stereotyping that has caused them to look at me the way that they do based on, their misconceptions. So one of the things that I have told myself, and it's kind of like a mantra, I guess, it's something that I use to help guide myself, especially where I engage a lot in public discourse, is that I am interested in addressing what I see as false ideas, not what I see as bad people. And if I truly believe that these ideas are being espoused by and propagated by institutions that I think are corrupt and damaging, then the people who've been indoctrinated into them are just as much a victim of them as I once was when I believed them too. And I know a lot of people who have deconverted, who had those ideas, and some of them staunchly, that are now deconstructing and undoing that damage the same way that you have, the same way that I did, the same way that a lot of other people have. And just because they held those ideas in that moment didn't mean that they themselves were at their core bad people. It meant that they were a victim to bad ideas that have been propagated by bad institutions that are trying to encroach their way into creating a bad society. So to where I have the spoons, give them the opportunity to get to know me better and have discussions with me so that I can assuage them of, I can disabuse them of that. Because if I create myself into the big bad boogie monster that they've been told somebody like me, a queer atheist is, then all I'm doing is creating a reaffirmation structure that they can go say, aha, see, I was right to begin with. If I allow them, and this is only something that you should do, I can't stress this enough, if you have the emotional space for it, because you owe nobody your time in a conversation and owe nobody your mental health. But if it's something that you are inclined to do, I try to, I do have a bitch switch though, to be fair, but I try as best I can to listen to them charitably and have open dialogue explaining why I have disdain for, distrust in, and do not believe in their ideas.
Right, definitely. You proved you brought up a good point there. Kind of not wanting to mimic that behavior, and try to, I try to assume the best of people. But whenever I do hear a Christian tell me it's from they're of a denomination that has traditional conservative leanings, it's hard for me to think like, oh, so you want me to go to hell too, because I've met some Methodists, right? The first time I was stepped into a church where a woman was a pastor. I know, crazy, but
what? They let us talk.
I know, yeah, but no,
crazy.
It was like the first. It just shows a lot about how I kind of grew up in a bubble, and it shows how even here there's like diversity, because churches that I grew up in, they were told that they'd said that men are supposed to teach the women and women can't be pastors, all that crap, and it's so harmful. And one of those things is that I've learned that, like, okay, people who tend to be more on like the progressive sides of Christianity, like Episcopalian, some Methodists out there and whatnot, they were very kind, very, very kind to me. But the thing is, coming from a Calvinist background, I've only ever really known it one way, right? And even when I would try to ask questions to them, she could not answer the questions, because you'd essentially have to admit, like, yeah, this God is an asshole, to agree with something like that. And I don't know, maybe the answer is just therapy.
The answer is always therapy. Do therapy.
Yes.
Everybody, yes. The answer is yes. If the
Yes.
question is, should I something mental, therapy. Therapy is good for everybody. Everybody should do therapy.
Yes. Yeah. I my therapist does CBT and EMDR, so Works.
EMDR is really interesting.
Oh yeah,
Great for
it's
trauma.
amazing. Crazy how it helps and works out. But Will, did you have any thoughts or comments about this topic? I don't know your story much, so yeah.
Absolutely, I do. I have thoughts and comments about most things. But on this specifically, I can say this I wear because I was raised in a Unitarian Universalist background, so that is agnostic faith, or that's an agnostic religion, and it's a highly progressive, formerly Christian religion. So I was incredibly blessed to be raised in what is a church setting. But in something that I consider to be quite progressive, quite genuinely a good force in terms of religious movements. By and large, it's extraordinarily liberal, extraordinarily progressive. But I also was raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we have a lot of Southern Baptists who are just kind of wishing the worst on me and my people, right? Like they're wishing like horrible things on gay people, right? Walking around with holding hands with my boyfriend or something, like you hear bad things. So it's absolutely true. But so at least what I said, or at least what I view this as, is Shannon hit on something that I really is one of the strongest like defense mechanisms I have, which comes from like my kind of left leaning and progressive values, which is to really look at the system in conversation, trying to center the system and that type of thing rather than centering the person. Because then you don't have to go through the emotional labor of forgiving them, you don't have to find as much compassion for this person, because that's not what you're discussing. You're not discussing if the person's a bad person. That's really besides the point in most discussions. What really you're discussing is this system a bad system? Have you been influenced by bad ideas or bad systems? And that takes a lot less emotional labor, right? Maybe it causes more existential dread, but that comes with the trade. So we don't owe a lot of people emotional labor. It's a side product of engaging with and learning and growing, right? That is difficult. But there's just the risk to reward ratio of emotional labor to growth and learning and development and engaging with people with different perspectives, even harmful perspectives. I've always found, well, let's talk about the church. Let's not talk about you. I don't want to hear about your experiences with God. I want to hear about what the church told you and why you think that that's correct. I want to hear what you've done for the church, why you think it's good that they did blank, 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 blank. That's always been more interesting to me. Whereas it might not convince them, but it's certainly for you, at least for me, that's been the most rewarding experiences.
Yeah.
So that's mainly what I have on it. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. So would you both say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so please tell me if this is true or not. Would you say that your feeling towards them tends to lean more on like pity now? Like it's sad that you are also in the system who has taught you these terrible things, and you know what I'm trying to say?
I wouldn't say pity personally.
I don't feel pity either. Because I have anger towards myself for being so silly to have believed that stuff myself. Like I don't pity the version of me that believed that stuff so much as I recognize her ignorance and and I don't have, no, it's not pity. Especially it's difficult for me to find pity for people who belong to institutions that wield so much socio-political power that they could and are attempting to effectively destroy people's lives, which is where this call started. So I don't feel pity for the people that still exist within that and benefit from that structure and haven't woken up to that and decided, hey, not only is this not true, but I am objectively contributing to harm by continuing to prop this structure up with my funds and my voice and my community engagement. So pity is not the word that I would utilize. I don't hate those people, though. I don't hate them. I guess I look at them like I looked at the older version of me, and I recognize what I see as their ignorance to the harm that they're causing. At least I hope so. That's me being charitable, because the other alternative is that they know exactly what they're doing. And if I recognize that in someone, then I have not only do I not have pity for them, then I have active disdain, but I need to give them benefit of the doubt initially, right? Like, I can't just assume that they're one of the people who recognizes that they're benefiting from this structure, recognizing that they're benefiting from the social capital that comes with the position of that institution within society, and just going along with it anyway. I prefer to think that it's more so that they're caught up in that system, because our society's done such a good job of propagating it.
Right.
Not a great job until
And
recently of actively countering it.
definitely. Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, because I guess I could say I agree. I just didn't know how to put words to it. And feeling bad for their ignorance is a great one. But, you know, like you said, I'd argue it's probably worse to meet somebody who knows that what they're doing, but, you know, still decides to do it. And that's kind of people that I grew up with, right? Like, I remember being told, you know, about how gay people go to hell and stuff like that. And I was like, well, why? How is that a fair thing? How is that just? And, you know, they truly do believe that is where they belong. And it's so saddening and disheartening, you know, to hear those things, especially from people that had such a strong influence in your life so young, you know, and you spend so much time with them. You are mentored through the church, and you're like raised that way. It's almost like, you know, before coming out, I didn't really have my own thoughts. It's like I had my own inherited thoughts from whatever they believed, really. And whenever questions were to come up, that meant that I was a lost sheep, and that I was going astray, and the prodigal son, all that shit. So, I guess they've used it as like kind of a tactic to get power. And you mentioned too, like even now, with how strong of a political influence that they have, you know, it's definitely really sad. But having those perspectives, I think it's helpful, because now whenever I approach somebody, I'm going to try to approach it in the way that you did, attack the idea, not the person, because you know, like I said, they're probably also guilty of indoctrination. Or not guilty.
You could have been talking to me or Paul 7-8 years ago, right? And we may have sounded like them.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Well, I don't know what else to say about this. I think that helped out a lot. Okay. So I really appreciate. I appreciate your perspectives. Thanks, Shannon and Will.
I appreciate you calling, Chris. Have a good rest of your day. See you later.
Thanks, you too.
Cool. He seems sweet. Jimmy put up a poll in the chat. Have you looked at it? I see it. I have it on my screen right now. 4% of the people watching right now are pro-life. 96% are pro-choice. I will hold a line open. If you're watching right now, 4% of you, and we have, I think it's like 400, 500 votes or something, are pro-life. Call right now. I will hold a line. Emergent, please hold a line. If a pro-life person calls, I'll give them priority. Bump them up to number 1. If you're a pro-life person, now is your chance. This is your Super Bowl. Me and Will are both here. Come and get us. Call in. I will hold you a line. Do it. Do it right now. Call your friend. Tell them to call. 4%. That surprises me. That it's not even. It surprises me. It's not 0. Really, with this, that's amazing. It's good though, because it means that there's pro-lifers that are watching this show and listening to what we're having to say. Oh, it just went down to 3. Someone changed their mind. No, it's back up to 4. Okay. Someone, okay, not me, not it. I can't see who voted, for the record. I can't see who voted. I can't call you out specifically. Luckily for you. All right, you ready for another call? We only have time for a couple more. I'm gonna hold the line for that pro-lifer though. We'll talk to Michelle next then. We will bring Michelle up. Hi, Michelle. You are on the line. What would you like to talk about today? Michelle?
Another child.
Yeah.
Michelle? Hi, are you okay?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was
Are
on
you okay?
hold and I was in a conversation with somebody else.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
What would you like to talk about today? That's okay.
Am I speaking with you?
You are I am Shannon. You are speaking with me. I am Shannon, and you are also speaking with Will, who hasn't said anything to you yet, but is here. I
Hello.
promise.
Yes,
Oh,
I am
was
here.
just wondering if are you atheist?
I'm an atheist. Yeah. Will is, if my understanding, is agnostic.
I'm an agnostic atheist, yeah, by my own terminology, at least.
Okay. There you go.
What's the difference? Like an atheist is an atheist, and you believe in God. You believe in God. There ain't no different kind of levels of believing in something. You either are or you aren't.
Well, philosophers would
I'm
probably argue
asking.
with you very vehemently about that, but yeah, I would say it's safe to say that neither one of us has an active belief in God.
Yes.
Okay. How could you not believe in that there's something out there?
I could give you a fairly reasoned response. I don't actually think it's plausible, and any definition that I've been approached with or exposed to or gone out and sought has either internal inconsistencies that make the definition itself incoherent, or are innocuous enough that it's indistinguishable from nothing.
Okay. Did you ever stop and close your eyes and just ask God, are you real? Are you out there? Have you ever because a lot of the reason why some people are atheists is because we go such a long period of time of thinking that's what something is. I mean, I myself I always said the Bible's not real. And I was so strongly about it, like so strongly.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it's all just some story made up, and I did not believe in God at all. But I never, and then somebody asked me one day, they're like, did you ever stop and just ask and like consider that maybe it was possible and ask if he was
Let
real?
me do it with you right now.
And when I done that,
I'll do it with you right now.
yeah, my
I'll do it
life
now.
changed. Have you
Let's
ever
do
done
it.
that?
I'll do it. Oh gosh, when I was deconverting 1,000 billion trillion times,
Like,
begged,
I
pleaded
mean, it
on my
might
knees.
not happen
Absolutely.
right now, this moment, but I bet
It didn't happen then
tonight when
either.
you go to sleep, like you'll have a dream.
Michelle, I promise you I
I've
won't.
had like
I really promise you I
people.
won't. I promise
Do
you
you
I
ever
won't. I won't.
dream?
I won't.
Have you
Do I dream? Yeah. No,
have you ever had
I
a
mean, I might
dream?
have a dream. You're right, but I don't. It's not going to bring me back to a belief in God, Michelle.
Okay,
It's not.
what's the last dream? Can I ask you a question? What's the last dream that you
Sure.
remember dreaming?
The last dream I remember dreaming was probably a couple nights ago, and I think I was dreaming about a softball game that I was playing the day before. We won that
Okay.
softball game, if it's any consolation, but it had already happened.
Did
Yeah, we did. It was a charity
I was
tournament.
on a softball
Michelle, you
team
seem
that I
you
had
seem really
actually.
sure that. So, do you think that God has shown himself to me and that I just didn't recognize it, or do you think he's choosing not to because I haven't asked him enough times?
I think that there's things that happen to everybody on a daily basis, whether it's losing
Mhm.
your car keys or you buying a scratch-off ticket and happen to win. Like,
Right.
we all have a purpose. Like, we're all here for a reason.
I don't think that we are, and I don't think that God is giving people winning scratching tickets and then letting children die of cancer on the same day. You know what I mean? Like, I think that people see that those are false positives.
Right,
It's a
but what if-
confirmation bias. When something good happens, you're giving credit to God, and when bad things happening, you're not giving him blame. You're looking at like little tiny bits of good things that happen and saying, well, that must be where he resides. But if he's everywhere, then he has to also be in the bad things. And then that brings up more problems. That brings up the problem of evil. That brings up the problem of divine hiddenness. And then we're still not even to a definition, Michelle. You haven't even defined to me what God is or would be. You've just told me that maybe I didn't ask him enough. and then just said that there must be a purpose in life.
You're asking me what God is or could be?
Well, you believe in
Is that
God,
what you
right?
said?
You believe in God, I'm assuming.
I believe
if you're
in,
giving me the call.
I believe in, yeah. I believe
So
in
what?
God.
Tell me what
I
you believe in.
like,
What is he? What is it?
there's just something out there bigger than us. We're not here just to be here. Like, whether
What is
you
that
want to call
thing
it God
bigger than us?
or you,
So you think there's just some general thing that's out there that's bigger than us? What does that mean?
yeah, it's God. Like,
Does it
there's
does it want to
something
have a
out there.
relationship with you? Does it want to have a relationship with you
Have you
specifically?
ever considered stopping? Yeah, like I have a relationship with God. Sometimes you don't hear from him a lot, just like sometimes you have friends and you don't hear from him every single day.
What does that
But
relationship
it's
look
a
like?
spirit, so it's deeper. It goes deeper than that. And
So is
you
it just a feeling?
it's more than
Like,
a
describe
feeling.
what
A
it is.
feeling comes with it, but you just feel it. I mean, you
So-
just know it's God. But
So you
have
have
you
a
ever had
feeling and you
stuff
just
happen to
know it's
you?
God. Stuff
Yeah,
happened
how
to
can
me.
you
Yes, I've
not?
had. So what do you mean
don't
by
say you
stuff
had those
happening to me?
feelings of weird things happening? Has nothing weird ever happened to you?
Very weird things have happened to me. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try and like just Michelle.
Well, you want to
I
thank
guess really
God
what we're
for
trying to
those
get
things.
at is like, well, the thing is like, okay,
even the bad things,
on the
everything
weird
passes through
things,
God that happens.
yeah, then the weird things happening wouldn't be any more evidence than the bad or good things happening. The thing we're really asking you is, okay, you have a feeling, right? And that's lovely. But that's not
Do
really
you not have a
communicable to
feeling?
us or to anyone else. No, I've never had that feeling. So Shannon has gone through
You
her
don't have
journey
feelings? You
with
wouldn't cry
religion.
if you stubbed your toe really hard?
No, Michelle, just let him
But
explain.
that's
He's trying to
drastically
explain.
different. Yeah, so I've never felt called to God. I've never felt this divine energy in me that you're describing. And lots of people haven't. Or at the very least, lots and lots of people have felt what you're describing in very, very different ways. So I guess what we're asking is like, if you try and place
Exactly,
yourself
because you got to
outside of
tap
your
into
experience.
that. You got to ask
Wait,
for
but
it. That's
if
the
you try,
big group of people that's not ever asked for it. You have to
No,
stop
Michelle,
and
you don't know
consider
you
it's
don't know what atheists
possible.
are then. Like most of us have asked for it ardently on our knees, night after night, with tears in our eyes, begging. So we not only have we've asked for it, and it not happening was a part of our
Okay, but
deconversion
did
journey.
you
A
ever
lot.
consider maybe?
No, stop, Michelle. Michelle, this is the producer. You have
Yeah.
got to let the hosts finish talking. They're letting you talk. They're letting you say your statement. You either called for a conversation or you called to talk over them. And right now, you're showing you're not listening to them by not even letting them finish a thought before you start in on yours. So please, if we're going to continue this call, you are going to politely listen. And then when they stop or they ask you a question, that's when you'll talk. That's how conversations work.
Okay, quit gish galloping me.
Okay, nobody's gish galloping you.
that's not what
Michelle.
Gish Gallop means.
No,
Define
it's
gish
not.
gallop, Michelle. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, Jimmy. It's okay. Michelle, I really believe that you called in earnest, which is why I'm being
No, she hung
impatient,
up,
because I
and-
believe. Oh, I think
She
she
hung
called
up.
in earnest.
I don't. As soon as she said
You
the
don't?
keys thing, as soon as she said car keys, I was like, this is a fake caller. And then she just said Gish Gallop in response to, hey, let the host talk. There are people in the chat too who think that is they were mentioning a YouTuber, they think it was, that it sounds like some other YouTuber that I'm not familiar with. But I as soon as she said, you find your car keys or you win a lottery, I was like, the chances that this person's for real is down. But anyway, that I didn't hang up on them. I literally just interjected to say, you're being a fucking rude asshole. It's literally
I
happened.
really
Like,
thought that she was in earnest, which is why I was being so patient. Because I thought that okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I was open to it. I just wasn't open to her for the 17th time interrupting you.
Yeah, I don't think it was going anywhere anyway. I think you're probably right. I think that she was just, she wouldn't listen. Like, she just kept saying you don't. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Michelle, if you were in earnest,
we
call
was no
again and we
true
will have.
lives.
There was no true liars. If I ask for Michelle to call again and she does that mean that she's God? Because I asked and she arrived. Is that what that means?
Well, I mean,
we
also,
still don't have a.
sorry, I was at this point to my other troll evidence, the pedantic use of, so you've never had that feeling? And he says no. So you've never felt it? You didn't feel anything when you stub your toe? That sort of equivocation, rapid jump where you're just listening for key words so you can then try and either she was a troll or she actually does not have the mental ability to participate in this conversation that would make us look like anything but shit for taking her on.
That's why I was trying to be calm because anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, cool. We have there's no pro-life people. Come on, pro-life people, where you at? There's a line open. I'm looking at it right now. I'll take one more call and then we'll read super chats. I saw them. We will read them, I promise. And if the next one's not pro-life, then we'll have to start reading super chats. We will talk to Kevin. Kevin, you were on the line.
Hi.
What would you like to talk about today? Hi.
Hi. Hi. I am so sorry. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Will. Hi, Jimmy. How are you guys doing?
So good.
Real good.
Best day ever.
Hi. I promise you guys I'm not a fucking asshole, and I promise you guys this is a legit call.
We'll be the judge of that, Kevin.
Well, if so it's a genuine call. I have been I guess decided atheist or like I have allowed myself to admit that I'm an atheist for about a year now, and I've been watching a lot of atheist content on TikTok and YouTube. Came across AXP, came across the line. I've been in this space for about a year now. But so I very much respect your guys' time. I just got finished making my daughter's dinner. If you guys will give me about 60 seconds to preamble and ask a very quick question, I was hoping to hop off and listen to the answer on the video. Sure. Specifically because the question I have, I don't want my daughters to hear it.
Okay.
It's a very dark question.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get to this as quickly as I can. A couple of nights ago, I was watching an old episode of a few week old episode of The Line with Jimmy and Matt, and the question of so I swear I had this played out in my head. The question of if a father found out someone raped his daughter, and the father killed the rapist in revenge or whatever, what would the response to that be? And Jimmy had said, I believe, I want to make sure I have this right, I believe Jimmy's response was something to the effect of, while I empathize with the father and, of course, the victim, legally I would have to vote to, if I was part of the trial, I would vote to convict the father of murder. The reason that I wanted to pick you guys' brain on that is because I'm a 33-year-old man, father of two daughters.
Hang on, I do want to interject.
2.5 and 4 years old.
Sorry, I have to interject. First of all, Kevin, call me on Wednesday so we can talk about this more, specifically my end of it. But I do want to not just leave it there. I also mentioned that, if somebody raped my daughter, I'd probably be on trial for the murder of the rapist, because I would probably do that murder. So I do empathize fully in that regard. But also, we were talking about society and the fact that society has rules and laws, and we don't allow vigilante justice. And in that scenario, I would be convicting on that basis and not anything else.
Right. Right, and you very well may have said all that. I may have heard it, and it went right over my head. The reason, and to be fair, Jimmy, I did try to call yesterday, but I was told that today would be a better time to call because it was SkepTalk and not the Sunday show. So I did try to call when you were on. But the preamble to that is, I spent 5 years from the time I was 8 to the time I was 13, being raped and molested by my older brother, who had 6 years on me. You know, when I was 8, he was like 14. And it happened until I was 13 and he was like 18 or 19. My sister, a few years older than me, also got the same treatment for longer than 5 years. I didn't find out until 20 years later. It ended when I was 13, but for her, it kept going for a few more years. My question is, first off, let me say that my daughters are going to have no contact with my brother. He is in a prison in Georgia. We have moved across the country to Wisconsin, and my mother is not allowed to tell him where we are. If she does, she's not going to see her grandkids. That's the lengths we've gone to protect our kids from him.
Yeah.
All that being said, it came out in 20. This all happened in like 1998 to 2003. He has since found God or whatever the fuck ever. But in 2017, he got in trouble for molesting a 14 or 15-year-old girl. It was his wife's cousin or something like that. Doesn't matter. So he's in a prison in Georgia. As a matter of fact, he was going to get out a couple of years ago. I had a hand in, as a character witness, in making sure he stayed in another 3 years. So he's serving time in Georgia. My question is, I'm still new to this whole idea of secular humanism, and I'm trying my best to absorb and learn as much as possible. So my question to you guys, and I'm going to hop off and go finish cooking dinner for the kids. What is, if you guys can explain it, well, I can understand it, hopefully, what is the secular humanist viewpoint, I guess, on, like, I'm struggling with, even 20 years later, I'm struggling to internalize that rage and hatred I have towards him. And I still, 20 years later, feel like if I could do things that would get you guys demonetized to him, I would. I'm not going to say it, but if I could, I would. And I still don't understand how. And I'm not blaming Jimmy. I understand he was strictly talking about the legal sense. But I guess my question is, I guess, I'm sorry. I don't talk about this much.
It's okay.
My question to you guys, I guess, is what opinion or what stance or what policy should or would a typical secular humanist have towards child molesters and serial child molesters and rapists? Because if it were up to me, I know what I would do, but that doesn't seem to be that doesn't seem to hold to secular humanist values. That when it comes to child molesters and rapists and serial rapists, that's the only thing I can't seem to agree on with, like, secular humanism. That everybody, the safety of someone's humanity is important. To me, the safety of, I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to get you guys in trouble because I know this is live on YouTube. But to me,
I get the gist.
The
I understand what you're saying.
Someone like my brother should not be valued over anybody. And I'm still struggling with that. I'm hoping that you guys could put a response into words that hopefully helps me understand that, okay, maybe I shouldn't be as angry as I am 20 years later, towards my brother and towards other people like that, or other people who have done things like that.
Thank you for calling. I can sense that you're getting to a point where you're not okay. You don't need to listen to the answer that we're going to give right now. You can go be with your daughters and go have your dinner. Don't listen to it right now. And you don't even need to listen to it for the next couple of days. It'll still be on YouTube. You can come back when you're ready. I would just don't listen to the answers right now. And that's not to say I don't want to give you anxiety. I'm not saying that because I think that there are going to be answers that you don't like. But I can sense emotion in you, and I want you to be okay. You take precedence. So we will answer your question. We will let you go. And thank you for calling. It is a good question.
My mom is the. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're okay, Kevin.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
You're totally okay. I think we both get the gist of the question. Will you understand the question? Oh, you're on mute, Will.
My bad. Yes, I do understand the question. I understand and I have an answer in mind. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Kevin, we're gonna let you go. Come back whenever you're ready. Okay.
Okay, I guess to sum it up into one question, what are your guys' thoughts on what should be done to people who are serial sexual abusers of men, women, or children? I guess that's my question. Is what do you guys think should be done to them as secular humanists? Because that's something I'm struggling with and have been for 20 years. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for taking my call. Thank you guys for being patient and everything you guys have done on this channel and other channels. You guys have helped me in my own deconversion a lot over the last year. And so I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you calling in, Kevin. Thanks. Have a good dinner with your kids. See you later.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So, did you want to go? Go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm happy to take kind of a first stab at it. I think there will be a few iterations of this answer. But I like the first and most prescient thing that he said that struck me. I kind of have an ideological answer, but the first thing personally that struck me was he said, does secular humanism think that I shouldn't be this mad 20 years ago? I think it's really important for a lot of people to hear that, like, how you feel is of no moral. It's not morally bad. Feeling bad is not morally bad. Feeling good is not morally good, right? How you feel, you don't owe it to anyone. You don't owe it morally, right? To feel good, you don't owe anyone morally to not hate them, right?
And you don't owe anybody morally forgiveness.
Exactly. Period. It's good for you, and your feelings are for you, right? Mm-hmm. And how you treat other people is for them. Yeah. And I think the first thing is, like, our ideology isn't telling you how to feel, and the best way, like, what we would say is just take care of yourself. And if whatever healing process goes through that's what that looks like. As to the ideological response, I think my first thing is, like, you can't just apply secular humanism at the end. Right, it's not in a vacuum of they did this horrendous thing that hurt many people. Now what do we do? Right, it doesn't start at the end. It starts at the beginning. Why was it horrendous? And secular humanism informs us. It gives us the answers. It gives us a good context and a holistic explanatory context to really understand, contextualize the gravity of this action, right? It explains the sanctity of the human body and the validity of bodily autonomy and such things. So within that context, I think having it on both scales engages with it more. And then it also informs the response, right? So if what we're horrified by is the violation of bodily autonomy and the violation of the sanctity of the human body, I think it is a very natural, emotional human response to say, let's do it back to them, right?
Yeah,
let's get them back. Yeah, but the question I would often ask a lot of people is, and this is a bit graphic, would they be comfortable violating in exactly the same way this defendant? Would they be comfortable with the state hiring a state-hired SAer? Right? I don't think they would. And that's because it's really hard as humans, we maintain compassion, we maintain empathy with anyone of the human race. It's just very natural to maintain at least some, like, human to human connection with them. And when you have to really visually see, right, that harm done, it's a very different thing Whereas in mass media and in our world, we've sanitized death and we've sanitized prison, such that I think there's a emotional block there. So that's what I'd say is I have, as to really like directly, I have a strong policy position against the death penalty, and point blank period, I'm just against it. I don't think it serves any purpose. I think it kills more innocent people. Like, there's a huge amount of good reasons that I'm against the death penalty, and equally then against vigilante justice that would incite the death penalty. It will simply cause more death, more harm, for really literally no gain. It doesn't reduce crime. So that's my view. And then I'm also equally against the vast majority of punitive measures, right? The goal of punitive measures should be to benefit society. So I guess what I'd say is the justice system should do whatever is just to society. That's kind of my always answer. What do we do with these criminals? Whatever is most just for society. Rehabilitating whomever we can benefits us, so we should try to. Separating them from society benefits us, so we should do that, right? Does hurting them further benefit society at large? I generally view it not to. I don't think building a vengeful or revenge-based justice system does actually heal a lot of people, and it hurts more people, right? And the final thing I'd ask is, what if it was someone that you had an independent relationship with that you cared about? What if it was your child or your mother, or I guess in this case it is your brother, right? But it was you didn't really build that relationship growing up. I don't know. I think that's personal. But the question is, what if you built an independent relationship and then you found out that they were this monster that did this thing, and then now the state is threatening these things? I really don't think people could separate their emotional response. And I think doing these things, punitive measures, does cause harm. Not in an equally gravitational way or equally valid way, they're all valid, equally like large way, but it still is harm. And I just am generally, secular humanists care about reducing harm.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I loved every aspect of that answer. I mean, I understand the inclination, especially when there's somebody that you can directly look at and you know that the harm that they've caused to you and have caused to others, to say, why wouldn't it be beneficial to just remove them? Right? Like they've demonstrated again and again and again and again and again. Like, here, there's this example of this one person that has done this. But the fact of the matter is that it's anecdotal, and that emotional response is not something that we should build broader policies around. Unfortunately, as detached as it sounds, you need to make these decisions on a societal level from a much less emotionally charged place. Otherwise, you do get systems where it's, you're stoning people in the streets because that's what people want in a fervor. That's what happens when you start to make decisions about justice from a place that is informed by anger and pain, as opposed to making decisions about justice from a place that is informed from looking at broader economic structures and what benefits the larger group and how we can best coexist with one another, because that becomes a slippery slope, right? Like, what degree of hurt becomes a justification for hurting back, and hurting back to what degree? If you're going to be, using the pain somebody caused as an excuse to cause them pain or end their life, then that degree of harm can't really be quantified well enough for me to say it ever really is justified. And then, if you believe in body autonomy as strongly as I do, I can't think of a scenario where I would or should or anybody should have the right to inflict any sort of harm or do anything to anybody's body without their permission. And in fact, in most instances, the reason that person is there is because they did that very thing. So we're now the type of society where we relinquish human rights from people if they do things that we deem unacceptable in society. And if so, for how long? Like, does everybody have that happen to them and it's forever? I know it's hard, believe me. I've had my own experiences I won't go into today where there is somebody in my life who did a bad thing, went to jail. It wasn't SA, it was something very, very different, but very, very permanent. And there's somebody who will no longer be in my life anymore as a result of the thing that this person did, or anybody's life, unfortunately. So I get it. And I no longer have a relationship with them, but I don't think that they were in jail for long enough. I get it. And I do fear that they could harm somebody else. But my issue is with the structure of the justice system, more so even in this instance than it is with just that person, because the structure of the justice system allowed that to happen. And that's what needs to be addressed, not harming individual people because they hurt you and it seems like it should be right to be able to hurt them back. I don't think that that's the way any society could function realistically.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that would be great.
I agree.
I do hope he calls me Wednesday because he's not the first person to summarize what I actually said on that call. There have been other people who are like, so Jimmy just thinks people should just get away with it then, which is not at all my position. There's been somebody trying to call in to represent the pro-life side. I've already said it in the chat. If you're paying attention, Tony, if you're listening now, whatever sound you're trying to use from your computer isn't working. So please, this is your last sort of chance, call from the phone. Call in. It says you're in the US, so no long distance stuff, it seems like. A call from a phone instead of your computer, and we'd get you on there. But I don't know if you saw the way I changed the poll.
No, I didn't. What does the poll say now?
Which describes you.
I am pro-life and I am too scared to call. 2%.
Yeah.
I am pro-life and I will call. Another 2%. So now we're split 50-50
Which
from the original 4%.
That's 7 people. And so far only one has even attempted to call. So 7
and there's just Tony in the queue.
Liars. Right.
Well, Tony, there was a line being held specifically. If you are not pro-life, do not call. We'll give Tony a chance. We can start reading some super chats while we wait for Tony, and we can stop reading super chats if Tony calls in, because we are already well past my bedtime. I've gone longer. I must really like Will, because I won't even let Paul talk on the SkepTalk this long.
Will, are you public about what
hour and a half?
So much.
Are you public about which time zone you're in? Will?
Yeah, I'm in British time zone. So it's 1:30 for me. But
oh
we're
my
living.
gosh.
Yeah.
I am such a baby. I'm like, it's 9:30.
I'm also a college student, so it's fair enough. This is my normal. I'm probably going to go live after this, right. Actually, because I'm like, I haven't had enough.
That's when I would go to the bar when I was your age. It's fine. You're fine.
Do you ever resent somebody because they're good at what you do, but 12 years younger? Or whatever Will is? I do.
Well, you and I are different people.
Like,
it inspires me. It makes me happy because it makes me feel like, oh, good. There's people coming up that are like actually, expanding the, skeptics and leftists and, people who defend the queer community and people who talk about, science and good ideas. There's a younger generation that's coming up that's taking the mantle. That's good. That's what you want.
Well, if we have
Jimmy.
you back, I'm going to insist that you pretend to be less good at it. Like,
don't let him dull your flame, Will.
You just
look. There's so much credit being given to me. I'm a 19-year-old law student. I think I have a big enough ego.
14 years younger than me. Yeah. Oh my God. At 19, I was still going, I don't know if I can completely let go of Mormonism, but I sure do like having my thing touched. Like that was pretty much me at 19. Oh well. All right. Well, Will, you can have my spot. I can retire to production only now. Y'all look forward to
as the resident gay.
Yeah. There's very few straight people on this network. Let me
Yeah,
just put it
I
that
was like,
way.
who's straight around
I know. I was
here?
like, there's Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all of us.
Yeah. We've got
like take inventory.
this place is a rainbow coalition. I'm trying. Okay. Anyway, you were insisting that I start super chats up and telling me to do my job already. You piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm reading the text that you all don't see. Okay, let me do that then.
Do it.
Bum, bum, bum. Send in your super chats now, people.
Ooh.
Otherwise, the show is going to be over real soon.
It is
But
because it's past my bedtime.
Shannon will stay awake for money.
I will. Well, it's debatable. From Cutthroat Gigolo, $10. Love you all. Peace to you too. Love you also.
Yes.
Peace. Thank
And
you.
we
appreciate
you as well.
it. Thank you for the
Slay
support,
love.
sis. Slay love. $10 from PhD Tony. The Bible refers to fetuses as golems. The Bible explicitly states that fighting a pregnant woman and causing her to miscarry is not murder. The Bible does not regard unborn children as people. I would tend to agree with that also because of the test for the unfaithful wife. That was one of my linchpins when I was deconverting
Numbers.
because yes. Good job. Well, so because when I read that, like, sorry, that felt like a verbal head pat. I didn't mean that way. Yeah,
that's how it felt, but it was great. I love a good head pat. That was great.
That way. Yeah, numbers. The test for the unfaithful wife was like a super linchpin for me. Like there was a couple of moments when I was reading through the Bible finally for the first time in my 20s that I literally threw the physical book. And reading numbers, the test for the unfaithful wife, did it for me because I was at a church that was very, very much pro-life, and I was having struggles as I was going through university and studying neuroscience with all kinds of things, including like morality and the soul. And I was reading this, and I was like, okay, like I can still hold on to the morality. I was still thinking I could hold on to the morality at that point. And I read that basically God just, makes women drink dirt water, and then if they were unfaithful, then he just ejects fetuses out of their body as punishment for them sleeping with other guys, because women are property, obviously, and so are children. So yeah, that one did it for me. God had no problem doing that as a punishment. So don't see, like, he could have done something else.
And interestingly, not the worst way that he treats children in the Bible. Like,
right.
He directly does worse things to children in the Bible. So yeah, it's hard to have a general pro-child position as a Christian, I guess. So it's fair.
Well, I mean, there was that one time he drowned all of them. That didn't seem like he was.
And one time
taking
he directed. What was it? The Mennonite children that he just directed them to directly kill. So
you were right the first time with the Canaanites. There weren't Mennonites back then.
Canaanites.
Yeah.
There's not Mennonite. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, the Canaanites. Wonderful.
Yeah. I wonder how many poor
to get
women
things
had
wrong to make me feel better.
No, I'm not too up to date on my Bible, so you might win some of that trivia. Although I guess it's not changing too quickly, so I could catch up on that trivia. Let's see.
Few more call-in shows. You'll get to it quick because there's some passages.
There are only a few points.
Come up often. $5.
Let's see. On the most important topic.
Ooh.
What
this
do
one's
you
for you,
think
Will. You want to read it?
Coffee tables. Yeah, sure. $5 from Vincent King. On the most important topic, Will, do you think coffee tables are a good thing or a bad thing? Is there added context to this, or is this just, general pro-coffee table position?
First, you have to make a decision, and then I'll let you know what the context is. And chat, shut your mouth. Are you pro or against?
I'm not looking at chat. I'm not looking at. I'm anti-coffee, so I guess by association I'd be anti-coffee table. So yeah.
Oh,
well,
wow.
It was nice knowing you. Guess we won't be seeing you back on this channel, but it's cool.
Oh,
have I just been canceled by SkepTalk?
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
By me specifically. Wow. It's a big argument in my household. My partner, his name is Paul. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He has a YouTube channel called Paulogia. He doesn't like stuff. The existence of stuff just in general pisses him off. So we don't own a coffee table because if it was up to him, he would live in an empty warehouse with just an iMac or whatever his computer is, because he'll only use Macintosh things, and a coffee machine, oddly, but no coffee table. We don't have a coffee table in our house. And it's a pet peeve of mine because every time I turn a corner, I kick a drink into another room. So, although that is improving, I think out of spite more so and vigilance. Yes. And he's in the chat. Great. So there goes my night. Well, hope you're happy. He doesn't like coffee either, Paul. So he's not your team either. All right. Well, we'll allow it. By the way, Tony, I think, is on the line.
Yeah, give it a shot. Especially, I'm
ready?
loving the lecture that he decided to use his screening time to give also.
Oh, did he use that to give a lecture?
I think I'm going to be jumping in on this one at some point. I'm sorry in advance.
No, we've got it. We can do it. All right. Hello, Tony. You are on the line with Shannon and Will. What would you like to talk about today, as if we don't know?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Well, I was listening to the conversation earlier when they're asking the person from Tennessee about God and how do you know he's real? And you mentioned that because you feel it doesn't mean it's real. So it's like the same thing that's going on with gender identity. I mean,
what are you talking about? What? Okay, first off, we told you we would hold a line for a pro-choice call. We told you so.
Yeah,
so right away,
and
you tried to call in. Oh no, to shut the fuck up. So we told you we would hold a line specifically for pro-choice. So either you're too cowardly to talk about pro-choice, or you're using that as a Trojan horse to come in here and be transphobic. And if you're using it as a Trojan horse to come in here and be transphobic, you can fully go fuck off into the sun. Do you have an argument for pro-choice? Or for pro-life,
Yeah.
sorry. Do you have an argument for pro-life that you would like to speak to us about? This is your chance. Do it now.
I told Matt when I called. He asked why
I don't care what you told Matt. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to get an argument out.
There's
Tony?
also no Matt. Matt isn't the screener. Matt's not on the show today. Who the fuck is Matt to you today? I told Matt, whatever ethereal Matt you were having a call with, shut the fuck up. Whatever ethereal Matt you were talking to doesn't exist. Now talk about abortion or abort your call. I was going to say meaner things.
Abortion is murder. It's life. The definition of life is something that changes. Prove me wrong. Look up the definition of life and read it.
Okay, I will grant you that a fetus is fully living and can walk out and win a Nobel Prize and cure cancer the second it's conceived. I will grant you that for the sake of argument. It still doesn't have the right to my body. And I'm not killing it. I'm relinquishing its right to live inside me and utilize my bodily resources to survive.
You just said it there. It's something living inside of you that isn't your body. It's separate from your body.
That's right. That's right. But it's using my bodily resources to survive. Right?
Yeah,
it's attached
conception
to me.
In population. If we don't have in America, if you don't have a population rate of I believe it's 2.3, 2.5 children per family, per couple.
Point. Yeah.
I don't. You think?
Yeah. No. Okay. Tony, do you think that? Tony, do you think that contraception?
Population.
Yeah. Great. Tony, do you think that contraception should be illegal?
What's that have to do with abortion? If you're stopping,
I agree. It has nothing to. I agree. The birth rate has nothing to do with abortion. That's the whole point, right? The fact that
It does.
you need to do something, the fact that you need to do something in order to have a child, or the fact that the population of the US needs to continue to increase has nothing to do with abortion, right? The point is we're not going to violate people's liberties and rights and bodily autonomy and freedom, right? Freedom, which I think you all agree that this is supposedly what this country was founded on. Now you're suggesting that in order to maintain this free country, right, that we need to violate one of the most important liberties of the world. It's incredible.
Yeah, but you didn't want the caller before to cut you off while you were talking, and you've done that to me.
Tony, you tried to talk over him during that entire thing. Do you know what the word irony means? That should be your name. Irony? I'm changing your name tag to Irony instead of Tony. You just tried to talk him over during the entire thing. He did wait for you to finish and respond, and you don't know a single thing he said because you were too busy gabbing. And he got you there.
I was making a point about
if your argument was about the population. Yeah, exactly. I love it. So we've established that it's a living thing that doesn't have the rights to my body. Tell me why it should have the rights to my body. Why? Why should anybody have the right to my body?
The right to the baby's body. You admitted during the first conversation.
No. Can the baby survive without my body? Can the baby survive without my body? So in order for the baby to survive, it needs to use what?
Without the baby.
Yeah.
It's a dependency.
I can survive without the baby. Conception. The baby can't survive without me. So you're saying that another human being has
it's just like
the
when
right
you have a baby and
to my body.
Shut up, Tony. What the fuck? You just complained about being supposedly talked over, and you have not stopped trying to talk over people. I'm going to mute you from now on when Shannon's talking or when Will is talking, so no one will hear you but you. But that's kind of what you're here for anyway, I think.
No, not at all.
Okay, so why does somebody have the right to my body?
When the baby is born, does it have a right to breastfeed?
No.
Or do you deny it?
Of course not. You still feed the baby. You can feed it formula.
Also, it doesn't have a right to your breast milk. As we've said already, you can give it up for adoption, right? So it's not a very strong right, if that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah. I can give that baby up instantaneously the moment it's born.
Right. And if you have a child and you don't provide for that child and it dies, what happens?
You go to jail for neglect because you entered into a social contract to take care of that child the moment that you signed that you were the parent who was going to take custody of it. You entered into a legal social contract. At that point, when you signed those legal documents, their birth certificate, saying, I am this child's parent, I'm going to take this child to this residence, I am going to raise this child, I am entering into this contract with you, society, this child is now my child. Otherwise, and if it wasn't, I would give it to you, society, and then you could take care of it, in which case it would go up for adoption or go into the system. But instead, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take this child, and you didn't fulfill that social contract or that legal contract because you neglected the child that you agreed to take care of.
Okay. And what you guys were referring to earlier about love, caring for other people. A child that, in your eyes, is just a contract.
No, yes, that's totally wrong. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, that's not what we're not suggesting. I wouldn't suggest that the child is just a contract. I would suggest that the reason I owe this child anything is a contract. That's like, duh. Like, what are you talking? Like, no one said that the child was a contract. Like, I don't think, my brother, who's a child of my mother, is a piece of paper. No one suggested that. What we're saying is that the only reason we owe anything to this child is because of a contract or an assumed contract in specific cases. Also, yeah, I can love someone and not want to support organ harvesting, right? Like, cool. Like, it's really simple, right? That's what I view forced birth as, is you're forcing people to give up their body, forcing people to give up their stem cells, right? So I can love people and respect their liberties and freedoms. That's, once again, what freedom means, what liberty means, is freedom to do something that, even if You personally wouldn't do it, which 100% you would.
Yeah. And it's not like love is ever
But
divorced from a
if they
contract. I'm
can't
pretty sure that's
talk,
literally what marriage is.
Most
if
important
they can't
contract you'll
talk
ever
in the
sign.
womb, but if they can't talk in the womb, they don't have a choice.
No, the child doesn't have a choice over who takes custody of it. Society does, for sure.
Just like I don't have a choice over if a liver donor gives me a liver if I need it. Just like I don't have a choice over if someone donates blood to me. Yeah, no, my choice doesn't matter over their blood.
Yep. Bingo. And with pregnancy, it's so much
What
worse.
does
Oh my
blood have
gosh.
to do
it's
with
so
what is somebody else's blood that goes to a donation place have to do with you? That isn't the same thing as a baby. That's literally formed.
I don't think you're grasping the
in
point, though,
womb.
Tony. Okay, let's follow the trail, though, right, Tony? So you're saying that I have to use my body to sustain somebody else's life, right? You're saying I have to do that. Can we agree on that?
Right, because
yes
people
or no?
didn't.
Yes or no?
Yeah,
yes or no? You're saying that I have to use my body to sustain another person's life. Yes or no?
If you gave your body to a man and you conceived, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if I get pregnant, then I now have to use my body's resources to sustain somebody else's life. That's what you're saying? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
So
we do
you
for
think that
other
there
people
is a
every day.
scenario that it is valid to utilize another human being's body to sustain a life that requires sustaining, a life that wouldn't be able to sustain itself on its own. Right?
Yeah, it's just like going to a fast food place. You're using somebody else's body to sustain your body for nourishment.
No, for Jesus Christ. Okay. No, you're going off into veganism land now, Tony. Let's stay focused. Let's stay focused. Dial in with me, Tony. Dial in with me, Tony. Okay, so you're a human. Unless you're eating human McDonald's, which is weird. That would be weird. So a human life can be used, a human's body can be used to sustain another human life. You think that is valid. If a human needs that another person's body or a component of another person's body, they should be entitled to it if it will sustain their life, right?
Yeah, otherwise humans would not exist today.
Okay. All right. Yes, because all women would just choose to have abortions because we enjoy them so fucking much, Tony. Yes, we just get in line. The only reason we don't is because the only reason we don't abort every pregnancy that's ever happened in the history of time is just because people are stopping us. That's clearly why. Stick with me here, Tony. We're following one string.
Every year.
So what you are, Jesus fucking Christ. So if you are using that as justification here, if you're saying that it is okay to use one person's body to sustain another person's body if they need it, if they can't survive without it, then you should only have a portion of your liver, you should only have one kidney, and you should be consistently donating blood because there's people that have died, people that have been walking around, chatting with people, having relationships that have died that could have availed from those, right? So you chose to relinquish access to your body and let those people die. So should we build a system where you're forced to give up parts of your body if it'll sustain another person's life? Or should we build a system where you're not forced to do that? Which one of those would be the better system?
They do that. They do that in third world countries, actually.
Do you think that's the system we should build, Tony? Is that the good system?
I think people are building that.
No, that's the bad system, right, Tony? The bad system. We wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want that to be the system because that's a bad system. It's a bad system. If you're saying that anytime somebody needs access to another person's body to sustain their life, we should give it to them, that's a bad system, right? Because it might impact you. So it's bad system, right? Bad system.
That argument doesn't make any sense.
I
Babies
think that
don't.
there's lots of people
Babies
following
in
the
the
plot.
womb
Will, do you admit, does that
form
make
their
sense?
own
I think
organs.
I think it makes well sense. I think there's an active effort to not understand it, but I think we all know that organ harvesting is bad, and I think we can all kind of see the parallel between, you know, enslaving women to do like
that
pregnancy
doesn't have
labor
anything to do with
and,
abortion.
you know, organ harvesting. It does though.
Except-
Okay, do you think? Okay, I'll ask a direct question. Do you
It
believe
does
that we should
when,
tie people down and
Planned
take their
Parenthood-
stem cells? Do you believe that we should tie people down and take their stem cells?
That has nothing to do with abortion. But
It does though, because stem cells are
that's a
transferred
totally
from the
different
mother to the
argument.
child in the womb. In the womb, they literally transfer through the umbilical cord directly, right? So when you force someone to maintain pregnancy,
but
you
does
are
the mother
forcing a
die
stem cell
from that?
transfusion. The mother, I don't die if I give stem cell transfusions. What are you talking about? So if you don't believe that we should tie people down and force them to give stem cells, then you don't believe that
That
we
has
should force a
nothing to
woman
do
to
with
continue
abortion.
giving stem cells to her child.
That's
It
what-
absolutely does. If that's true, you don't understand what pregnancy is, right? And I don't know why you're speaking on it if you don't
that's a
understand what pregnancy
poisoning
is.
the well
Pregnancy is
argument.
necessarily a
It's
stem cell
far-reaching.
transplant.
It's a fallacy argument, and you know it.
What fallacy is it?
Oh,
You're
I can't-
Name the
comparing
fallacy, babe.
You're comparing people stealing organs to
Name the fallacy. Name the fallacy. What
aborting.
fallacy? What fallacy?
begging
What's the name?
question. You're begging.
Oh, you
the
don't know what
question.
begging the question is. That's not what begging the question is.
Yep.
Begging the question would be circular reasoning. This
See,
is
we're-
not begging
we're
the question.
talking about-
The one you were looking for was false equivalency, right? But it's not a false equivalency because you would need to prove how it's a false equivalency when it's the same thing. You don't know what begging the question is. So thank you for bringing up
That's
a
what
rhetorical
you're-
foul that I didn't commit.
You are begging the question. Like,
Don't-
Okay,
the
so I'll
premise
ask you
wasn't in the
directly then.
conclusion.
Why do you
I'm not
want
even
to?
talking about I'm not talking about organ harvesting. I'm talking about abortion. You're comparing like apples to oranges here.
You can
He's saying
compare
functionally-
apples to oranges. Tony, you need to start shutting up, by the way. You're doing it again. And I'm hopping in to say, shut the fuck up. Apples and oranges are both fruit. Oh, I just compared them. Oh, no.
Tony, they are analogous, though. You're like,
See,
Will
that's
is
why you
right when
don't
he's
have a
saying
lot
that
of
you don't
people come
understand the
call
breadth
in.
of what pregnancy is, Tony, because
Yeah.
stem cells being
man has a
extracted or
seed.
blood being extracted,
Oh,
Tony,
A female
Are-
has
Tony,
an
shut
egg.
the fuck up. All right, you're muted, dick.
stem cells and blood being extracted are less intrusive than a pregnancy is by miles and don't have anywhere near the detrimental permanent and lifelong effects pregnancy can and does have on women. Most of us choose to enter into it willingly knowing that's the case, but not all of us should have to. We shouldn't have to. When I was pregnant, I had multiple sclerosis. I hadn't been diagnosed yet. I was diagnosed with something called transverse myelitis. I had to be induced because I was losing the use of my legs. And it was a sacrifice that I was willing to make. I should not have had to make that sacrifice. I should not have had to make that choice. If I had chose to terminate because I knew that there was going to be potential detrimental health effects that were going to possibly ruin my life, then terminating the pregnancy would have ended that. That's a choice that should have been my choice to make, and it was my choice to make. And I chose to go on with the pregnancy and monitor it, and everything turned out okay because I had a good doctor and yada yada yada. But the point of the whole story is that's like a small choice. That's like there's women who literally lose their eyesight because they get gestational diabetes. There's women who have heart issues. There's women who have permanent damage. There's women who have permanent scarring or infections that come from having to have cesarean sections. There's women who have to fully recover from surgeries. Like what we have to go to, what our bodies physically have to go through in order to give birth is nothing. It's not even like it. Like what? Sorry, it just frustrates me compared to what you would have to go through to just give blood. And you're saying, nah, I don't have to. That's completely different. It's completely different because I didn't have sex. What if every time you had sex, you had to give blood? What if every time you got a woman pregnant, you had to give blood? How about that? You get a woman pregnant, you have to give blood, you have to donate a portion of your kidney, you have to donate your stem cells because you did it too, right? So your body should, you should, now you give up the right to, because if that's what sex does, if sex means that both parties give up the right to their bodily autonomy, that'd be great for society, right? Like the men have to, donate what they can donate and the women go through the pregnancy. You would never support a system like that because it's batshit crazy, because there shouldn't be a punishment for having sex. There shouldn't be a relinquishing of bodily autonomy for having sex. But you want to say, well, there should be for women, but keep a special corner over here for you. You guys, because you guys will never ever fucking have to, right? So it's a silly argument when we say that you should have to do it, but it's just what we should fucking do. So bite me. I'm done now.
I unmuted Will. Sorry, Tony, I unmuted you.
Okay. That was a good rant, but
I thought so.
As did I.
it still doesn't justify killing something.
Jesus fucking Christ, I'm not killing anything. I'm relinquishing its right to my body. I'm not killing anything in that scenario.
Right.
I don't think he knows what abortion is. It looks like most of the time. Do you know how the abortion pill works, Tony? Do you know how the abortion pill works, Tony? Describe it to me.
Yeah. It stops if you can take it within, I think it's 7 days or something, it hardens the egg or stops the sperm from getting inside of the egg.
You're thinking of the Plan B pill, not the abortion pill. The abortion pill accounts for up to 30% of abortions. That's my most recent statistics. It's the most common form of abortion. And all it does is stop the mother from continuing to give her nutrients and connection to the child. So it is not destroying the child, right? Actually, it stops nutrients and then it expels it. Wonderful. So if I didn't give you food and you died because... Here's the thing. Okay, let's talk about starvation. If I didn't give you food and then you died because you didn't have food, the only way I would be liable for that, the only way I did anything legally wrong, is if I owed you food. Okay? But what you're failing to grasp is that you are entirely unable to justify why the mother owes her body to the child. Right? If you don't think the mother should be forced to give her kidney outside the womb, or her blood outside the womb, or her stem cells outside the womb, right? Why do you believe there's some type of special made-up obligation when it's inside the womb? Why do you devalue pregnant women's rights and like values? When even you kind of recognize women's rights when they're not pregnant.
Yeah, women are a special gift that can do things that men can't, like have children. That's a blessing. That's not anything else.
I don't think that you are absorbing anything anybody's saying. You're either being purposefully obtuse. You must be being purposefully obstinate. That's the only thing I can.
I mean, it was a half answer. It was a half answer. I asked him why he didn't respect women's rights. He said because they're baby making machines. We got the information.
That's not what I said at all. But you can twist my words.
I was decoding the Republican propaganda. Right? They're a special gift, so we're going to enslave them for that gift. Right? That's what you meant.
That's not enslavement.
Oh, you can do this thing that benefits me as a man. I'm going to enslave you for it because I hold more power in society to do it. Right? I don't think we should do that. I don't believe in indentured servitude for 9 months of women simply because of their reproductive abilities. I don't think people with O-type blood should be forced to sit down for days on end and give blood, right? I don't think people that have kidney matches out the wazoo should be forced to cut themselves open and give their kidney. Just because we have a God-given gift, right, doesn't mean that society can sit down and force it from us. Right. So even if you did view women as baby-making machines, right, which is incredibly simplistic and arbitrary, especially considering most women are not fertile, either they're too young or too old or just infertile during that time, right? It's just not true. It's an incredibly strange view to have.
Not really, because if you look at Genesis, it even says that one of the reasons, or one of the things that happened in the fall, is that women would have extremely painful childbirth, difficult childbirth.
Yeah, it also says a steak talks. I don't really care.
I mean, that is.
Bring Genesis to me when you find a talking snake. Like,
right.
It sucks. I don't really care.
Okay, well, science says snakes used to have legs. So
wow.
No, it doesn't.
Little mouths in them that said stuff, because that wasn't the point. Okay, I think we've reached. I wanted to say our logical conclusion, but I'm just going to say I'm exhausted. So let's be done now.
Wait, before we go. Hey, Tony, what's your favorite color?
Well, here's a logical.
I knew you wouldn't answer the question because you haven't answered a single question the whole fucking night. You're muted, so keep trying if you like. I just knew if I asked a straightforward question, you'd be incapable of just saying blue. Goodbye, Tony.
Bye, Tony.
Oh,
it's kind of funny.
The bar for critical thinking on the floor, and we're still there.
Okay, well. Tony got through. That totally happened. So I hate it when people say that, well, women had sex. Okay, so did a man in that situation, because they're functionally saying that having sex means that you relinquish your bodily autonomy. They're saying that is what having sex means, but it only means it for one party in that situation. Because the men do not have to relinquish their bodily autonomy; only the women do. And if you say anything that even hints towards that they may have to clip a fucking toenail they don't want to, then all of a sudden the parameters change. All of a sudden the parameters change, and well, it's not just because you had sex; it's because women are the only ones who can do it. And I'm like, aha, exactly. Fucking exactly. Which is why we are the only ones who get to fucking decide. So,
but
shut up!
There's like an even really further, very dark conclusion of this, right? Which is that, it's acceptable to violate women's consent and autonomy, right? Because they are reproductive engines, right?
Correct.
Like, which goes beyond just pregnancy, right? It is sexual assault apologetics is what it is, quite honestly, and that's why you see it in people that hold this view is, well, if you're married, you really should be having intercourse even if you don't want to. Oh, well, she was just pushing away. Like it's really, they've kind of stopped saying it explicitly, but it's one logical step away from their position, and that's why it's really that's one of the many reasons it's just extraordinarily dangerous. That type of pro-lifer is supporting shit they don't even know.
Well,
anyway,
thank you for staying
super
on
chats.
To do that, and thanks for much. Yeah, super chats. Will's a better host than me. Thanks for being the guest tonight, Will, and doing my job for me. $5 from Firebird XX. Shannon, what made you pro-trans? Thanks so much. Basic human empathy and respect for people. It's literally that easy. $4.99 from Ted LaCoca. You should be pro-life because we have this great cult that we raise your children for him. Yeah, no thank you. I'll raise my own kids. Thanks, I'm all good.
Yeah.
Almost set. You had me at cult. Where do I sign? $5 from Candace Planet. Wonderful show. Thank you. Great to meet you, Will, and to see you again, SQ. Love you all so much. Love you too. Thank you.
Love you as well. Yes, great to meet you all as well. That's it.
$5 from Miss Seaside. Hill Witch. I, as a bisexual, it is my mission to break hearts. I'm 23 and y'all look young as hell. I am about to turn 42 in a couple of months, so I'll take it. And Will is in fact young.
And I'm terrified at the prospect of 20. So, we live on.
You know what? I'm enjoying 40. Very, very, very much.
Oh, good.
40 is the point in my life where I climbed I don't give a fuck mountain and then just hit the crest and was like, there's no more fucks. There's no, as far as I can see. So I just don't care. I want to go to the grocery store in my pajamas. All the light touches. That's right. The field in which I sow my fucks is now barren for as far as the eye can see. I want to go to the grocery store in my pajamas at 3 p.m. I don't give a fuck. No makeup, yesterday's makeup. Who cares? You don't like me? Good. Bye. It doesn't matter. I got cookies. This is $50.
Wow. This is somebody reading what was a missed super chat from the other day. But it's also for Aron, so I don't know if maybe they want us to wait until we'll do it with Aron as well. But I guess you two can respond if you have any thoughts on it.
I don't even know what this means. Basically, I asked Aron and guessed what shellfish means in biology and philosophy. Selfish means in getting a dyslexic to read this is a bad idea. What selfish means in biology and philosophy, I don't know the answer to that. This is a Forrest Aron type question for me. I have a good answer. That does give that
energy. All that rings to mind. I can't give a convincing answer, but all that comes to mind with selfish is Ayn Rand, and I try and distance my thoughts and any general vibes from Ayn Rand. Yeah. So other than that, I can't talk much about egoism.
Under the context. What?
Sorry.
Jimmy sounded like he was going to say something, and then he just trailed off. So I don't know what's happening.
Am I back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Biologically, usually the word selfish is in reference to genetics and the fact that there's a massive overrepresentation of certain genes in gametes. And that is because of basically genes prioritize their own transmission. And that's that's like the basic thing. But for sure, let us know when you're here and Aron's back or Forrest is back, and we'll send this along to them.
Okay. Yes, please. They'd be better. $5 from Candace Planet again. Thank you. Here's more money just to say I'm pro coffee table. Just keep it cleaned off. I will. I promise. When I ever get one, which is never going to happen. Y'all can do it. Cheers. Thank you. I believe I can. I have temporary clutter.
Maybe I'll change my position.
Yeah, that's right. Come on my team. One of us. $5 from putting corpses in culverts and quarries. Wow. Me. Okay. Can you team up with that Pelagia guy to make a video about physiological responses? About physiological responses aren't proof of God. I goosebumps. Holy Spirit compromise. Ottoman. Ottoman. Maybe we'll get an Ottoman one day. Some point, maybe. Sure. Yeah. Well, I did a video with him about the ocular neuroanatomy at one point in time because the like look at the construction of the eye argument that apologists give makes me want to punch a wall because I know so much about ocular neuroanatomy and it's just ours aren't even the best eyes in town. Like every bird on your street has a better eye than you. It's so stupid. Everything we see is upside down, backwards, full of holes. Like our fovea is the only place that we can really receive light through our cones, and it's densely concentrated there, and then just little specks of it throughout the rest of the retina. There's a huge gap in the middle of it when the optic nerve needs to come out, and then it needs to cross over at the optic chiasm and then go back to the occipital lobe. Everything's full of holes and floaties, and it's upside down. It's a nightmare. Whoever designed the camera did a much better job than God did. If the argument is, look at how complex the eye is. It doesn't need to be, though. It's just evolution made it that way. Anyway, sorry. Wow, that triggered me, evidently. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. $5 from the Raven 200. Jimmy, go take a frog splash through a coffee table, then a burning hammer through another coffee table, and finally a 3D through one last coffee table. Are those wrestling things? I don't know wrestling things. Is that stuff that you do in wrestling?
Well,
Or
I
is that just like
I thought Mario. So
Mario?
Raven-
Oh, that makes sense. A burning hammer. Oh, and okay, maybe.
That
Yes,
does
Jimmy,
make
you may
sense. With
speak slow.
Raven, it's usually either wrestling or anime.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
My kid could translate that for me. Then he loves anime.
Speaking of Mario,
Okay.
did you see that they're finally remaking the best one?
No.
because I don't know that there's.
They're
a best one.
re-releasing Super Smash Flash.
No,
They're
that's not a Mario
re-releasing
game.
Super
That's just a
Mario
game
World
with
Flash.
Oh, no, they're doing Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, which I think was out before you were born, but was the best one.
I don't know any of them.
I have not played through any except for Super Mario World's Flash because I was bored in middle school. Anyway.
Okay. $10 from Dustin Waldron. Yeah, Shannon. Why'd you give your body to a man? I asked myself that so many times. Great job, Shannon and Will. And everyone, go Jimmy themselves. Also, Jimmy, your production values have ruined other live call-in shows. Oh, Jimmy, did you hear that? Jimmy, just
what do you mean? Did I hear
setting
that?
the
I'm
bar
putting it
up
on.
here.
I heard it, and I'm putting it on a T-shirt.
I was like, maybe he's on mute because he's crying. You might be crying right now. He's so happy.
Dustin, it's
That's
just
a-
nice to be seen. And you're right. This is the best network of call-in shows in the universe.
Correct. Hundo. $10 from A. Maria. I donated blood stem cells to a cancer patient who was 100% guaranteed to die without my donation. His life was dependent on my body, and I still could have revoked consent at any time. Thank you for doing that. And yes, exactly. 100%.
Yes, incredible.
100%.
Incredible. I've lost people
Good for
in my
you.
life because they could not find a donation. So you're literally saving lives. That is incredible.
Mhm.
Mad props to you, Maria.
100%. Amazing.
Hey, put an
Thank
F
you,
in
Maria.
chat if you would pay like $21 for a T-shirt that says "The line ruined me for other call-in shows."
Jimmy would probably buy them for everyone if they wore them.
Only if you'll wear them to certain other guest appearances.
Stop it. Be good. Be good today. $5 from Chris Carrillo. Thanks for taking my call. Will please come back? Yes, please come back. We haven't scared you away.
I'll
Hopefully.
come back whenever I'm invited. I will come back whenever I'm invited. I'm happy to. Anything that anyone wants me on, especially this has been fantastic. So yes.
I think you'd fit well in the
Hit
new
me up and
political
I'll show up.
projects that I'm working on.
Oh, yeah. I think you would.
Let me know because I'll have free time.
I introduced you to
Term
the
is
good
just
hosts.
starting, but I will
told
have that time.
$9.99 from I Got the Blues. Man must control the means of his own productions. Speaking of Ayn Rand, who controls the railway? That's funny.
Throw a
Yeah.
J in chat if
Giving
you want
marks,
to go
though.
Jimmy yourself shirt.
Go Jimmy yourself.
Did you see that? So, Will, there's a meme on
was
this
a super
channel where
chat.
people just say, Jimmy, go fuck yourself, because I don't do super well with compliments. And so it's sort of their way of being like, well, we still love you. And then somebody accidentally wrote G, instead of GFY, they wrote GJY. And now go Jimmy yourself is a brand new insult and compliment at the same time.
So many levels to that. We love that.
We're just like a meme on top of a meme, wrapped in a meme with a meme underneath it on this channel. A $5 from a Sonic Shroom. I think anyone who wants the population to go up is evil. Yeah, I was super afraid of where that one was going. Honest with you, given the tone of that call, I was like, oh, please don't. Oh, please don't say the word replacement. I will lose my mind.
Ooh.
That's what I was afraid
Yeah.
of. I was literally afraid. When you said, you know what this is, I was like, please don't be that. Please don't be that. Because anytime I hear somebody saying that stuff, oh my God, it's usually population people.
Yeah.
Whacked
Do you,
anyway.
Will, do you
yeah.
know who's popularized this argument recently?
Well, Elon Musk has addressed it.
The
I don't know
emperor
if
himself.
you may be right.
That's who I was
The
referring
emperor.
to.
Emperor of X.
I was thinking Mars, and I say we send him. Let's pay to send him to Mars.
It's like being the emperor of the shittiest table in high school.
Don't tell him that. Bro, Mars is going to be so fun. There's going to be like, you're going to be able to like take testosterone and just blast out your glutes and fight other billionaires all day, bro.
I would go there to just fight billionaires. I would do that for sure.
That's our solution to the billionaires. We just we put them all on Mars
How cool Mars is.
and let them
I bet you
fight for
could go.
terrible property.
I am a Christian, mostly thinking that abortion should only be legal for health, criminal cases, first trimester, etc. Never really understood the autonomy argument until now. Very interesting. Thank you. Oh, well, thanks, Wesley. Thank you for coming and listening and having an open mind and actually engaging the subject matter.
If
I'm sure if we asked you what your
agree.
favorite
And we
color
didn't
is, you would
even-
know.
We didn't even go into like the autonomy argument that much. It didn't actually get that much showtime. So it's a really complicated argument. But I'm happy what you did see was convincing or at least interesting. That's very good. It's
If you thought
fascinating.
Shannon's
argument, but it's really
explanation-
simple. That's the great time.
If you thought Shannon's explanation was good, call on Wednesday and I'll mansplain it to you. It'll be the same
Wow.
argument, but by a man.
Thanks. I hate it. That's great.
You're welcome.
$9.99 from Claire. If you all think Tony is bad, you should hear some arguments I've had with my mom. God, I love complaining about my family to random strangers online. By the way, William seems great. Jimmy, go Jimmy yourself. Will is great. Jimmy can go Jimmy himself.
That he can.
Indeed. Whenever he likes.
I don't need your
Or
permission,
99.
but I don't hate it.
Jesus Christ. $4.99 from Where Lemur. Hi, SQ. Hi, Will. Big fan of SQ for a long time. Oh, thanks. Thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to your content, Will. What kind of law are you planning to practice? Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Well, I'm a big fan of Shannon as well for a long time. But what type of law do I intend on practicing? Ooh, do I intend on practicing law? That's a great question, everyone. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of want to go into politics. I kind of want to go into political commentary like this. So this is kind of a lot of getting out there, getting engaging, and trying to make change this way, and being heard and having that type of voice would be my goal. But if I do, I'll probably go sit the bar in New York and do some type of advocacy work in law. So that's probably what it's going to look a lot more like. Representing clients sounds annoying. Knowing the law so I can engage and change it, yeah, that sounds like my vibe as well. So thank you so much, and I'm happy. Looking forward to my content.
Will, I think you're really going to, well, you might hate me and which that's fine and fair, but you might not. And if you don't, I think may really like this thing I'm launching. It's technically season 2, but you can't find any of season 1 of the Sometime Show. And it begins with basically a monologue on political current events, and then it goes through some other segments, and then it ends, the new version will end with a call-in portion, sort of similar to what we do over here. But I feel like I think you would enjoy the format. And like I said, I'm going to retire one day. So check it out. You know what you can do? This is an idea I had with Stacy the other day. Shannon, you're going to fucking love this, and you're invited to do it. So do you remember on the Sometime Show? Do you remember on the Sometime Show when I used to do the Roast the News segment?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So we're thinking about adding a little box in the corner under where the graphics go. And that's just for a guest who is going to laugh at my jokes. And we're going to call it Jimmy's Ego Box. And it's going to say it over the box, Jimmy's Ego Box. So Stacy will be there just to laugh at the jokes I make about the various news. Anyway, you're both very welcome to come and laugh at my jokes anytime.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. On the career side, I will just say, just in a bit of a, I don't know, good times, good vibes way. I am like, I'm, that sounds fantastic, in terms of going on a show. And if anyone has any podcast, YouTube, shit like that they want me on, just hit me up. I'm very open to anything because TikTok is kind of fucking me over right now. So I would love to, I don't know, contribute in any way. Yeah.
Oh,
but yeah,
Will's about to learn the lesson to not say you'll go on every show because he's going to try and find out what that's like.
I'm not going to, no, I'm not going to go on every show. I'm not going to go on every show. I'm saying hit me up. And then I'll read the emails that I read. Crazy how some emails are read.
I would say text Shannon and ask if individual ones are good ideas. She won't steer you wrong. I do that sometimes.
I will. I'll get guidance before I go on.
Yep. Hi, Kildurl. $5 for my Kildurl. Thoroughly enjoyed this duo tonight. Will, lovely to meet you. Miss Q, I am forever. Team wine buffet smooches. Yes, I still need to get the wine topic. Yeah.
Wine buffet.
Yeah, it's part of the
like a
coffee
series
table
of wines.
saga. No, like it's a buffet. yes, actually, that sounds great. No, I actually wanted to have like a fridge in it for white, and then a shelf for red, and then like a buffet top so that I can put like serving stuff on top of it. It's a whole ordeal, but I'm not sure if you're aware, but that qualifies as stuff, and we're not allowed to have stuff in my house. We're only allowed to have computers and one couch. That's it. Dining room table. We have a dining room table. Those are the two pieces of furniture that are permitted in this residence. This room, I'm allowed to have things in. This one's mine. That's why it looks pretty. It's funny. Like if you have Paul up on one screen and me on another, he sometimes hosts the show with me. You wouldn't think we were in the same dimension, let alone the same fucking house. Because mine is like, look, the best is yet to come. And here's my guitar and my books and my little burner and the thing that says home. And his is like, it's dark in here. It's like Star Wars toys and black lighting. And it's like, it looks like he lives in a dungeon underground. And that's how he likes it. And it looks like I live in like cottagecore sunshine. Anyway, la la la. I'm hosting a show. $5 from Dylan Fowler as the resident baby mod. Hello, baby host. LOL. Will, you're hilarious. I'd recommend a Forrest team up. That would be awesome to watch. But you'd be up till 5 a.m. your time. That is true. Oh, Forrest is great. Forrest, yes. This is probably the longest I've ever been on a show, except for the show I do with Forrest, or did with Forrest. Because Forrest will go for 7.5 days straight without food or water and never stop talking. And he is so passionate. I don't know how he does it. I die. I couldn't stay up that late. Yeah. Anyway. But you two together would be awesome to watch.
I've done 11-hour lives
now we're not
before.
Letting you go.
Like I've spent like 11 hours on live before. It's happened before. It's a disease.
You youngins. You youngins and your stamina. $5 from PhD Tony. And just to reiterate, that last call was a different Tony. Oh yeah, that's right. Poor thing. I didn't think it was you because your super chat made sense. Also, Jimmy's production makes me feel even tempered and calm. There you go, Jimmy. Good
These
producing,
are the only
Jimmy.
compliments that I'm like, everything else I'm like, stop. And I'll start debating people like, you're handsome. And I'll be like, I've seen my butthole. But this sort of thing, this is the one where I'm like, all of the compliments and love you're giving me are so great, but honestly, also not enough.
Oh my
I was waiting for that to hit you.
Recognize my greatness. Don't tell me I look nice today. Don't tell me I made a good argument. But if you're going to compliment my production, make sure you do it thoroughly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, always add about 40% on top of there.
Okay. You guys are generous today. Thank you for being generous today. I appreciate you guys. $5 from the Raven 200. He, him. Jimmy, go fight Akaza, Dolma, and Kokushibu on an infinite coffee table. Also, all of those from my previous super chat were all wrestling moves. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I did not know we're wrestling moves. Look at me. Look at me. Does that mean I'm culturally relevant or I don't know? I don't know. I knew a thing accidentally somehow. All right, $9.99 from T. Fraley. I'm not philosophically opposed to coffee tables, but I do love my giant ottoman that becomes a coffee table with a lovely tray for drinks. Compromise? Appreciate your great conversation. I don't think you'll see that as a compromise because I already have a tray. The compromise was that I have a tray for my drinks that is on the couch. That was the compromise. So he would just argue that if you're just going to use the tray, why do you need the ottoman? I can see it coming because I've had this conversation so many times at this point. I don't know if he's in the chat anymore, but he would probably agree that I predicted his immediate counter.
Is Paul a data hoarder though? Like, isn't it not that he doesn't like stuff? It's that he just only likes imaginary stuff. Doesn't he have terabytes of data of things in clouds and on hard drives? Must be fucking nice.
I don't know. I know he has an external hard drive and 2 for sure computers, but one of them he's just using as a screen. I don't know because I don't pay attention because I can't stress enough that I don't care. No,
I wouldn't be surprised to find out he has like a full petabyte of NAS now, which are words that I made up to make Shannon mad. No, those are real words. They're real.
Are they? Okay, because I would have no idea.
I know petabyte. I know petabyte is. I'm nearing like a terabyte of old lives, so I need to find something to do with this data. Yeah.
You need to hook up with some of us and get them edited and get them on your YouTube channel and get thumbnails so that you can get your YouTube channel established is what you need to do. That's what needs to happen.
That would be very good.
They do well on YouTube too.
That is what needs to happen.
That is
I've been processing through like 3 of them. You're a piece of shit.
$5 for putting corpses in culverts and quarries. Every time. Nini. Jimmy's a real piece of shit, I'm assuming, but at least his production is good. Go Jimmy yourself. There you go. That's the superest of super chats. It's the realest one. Is that all of them? Did we do it?
I've been told I missed one, so I'm trying to find it.
Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Oh no. Is this it? Okay. Thank you, Crystal. This is what happens when you take a call in the middle of the super chat. Sorry, guys. But I think you're probably all happy we took that call. Crystal Battelario.
It was a good call.
I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. Love tonight's show. Great debut, Will. Always love shows with Shannon. Thank you. That's very kind of you. This was a great duo. P.S. I'm pro-choice and anti-coffee table. Well, we can't all be right all the time. That's okay. Thank you, thank you, Crystal. Thank you for the super chat and for watching. And thanks to a margin, especially tonight, because moderating that screening, those calls could not have been easy. Especially when we were throwing stuff at you last minute about holding lines, and you did it effortlessly, and I super appreciate you. And thank you very much. And thank you to all of the mods in the live chat. Always, you guys are the super bestest ever. And thank you to Will for being here. For anybody who tuned in late, Will, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, the link to my YouTube is in the description. So just go follow me over on YouTube and I'm going to be more active. And absolutely, the mods never get enough credit in anything ever because they do so much good work. So shout out to the mods. They're incredible. Shout out to the line holder. That's incredible. And thank you all so much for having me on. And thank you to everyone who watched and, is the reason we do this. So it's absolutely incredible. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm
quite
so
a lot.
That you came.
Brings joy.
I'm that you're here with us. Pardon me. $20 last minute submission from Godfrey and Good. Great show. Getting my Shannon Q fix. Happy to see someone so young as McC share their perspective. Me too. We're passing torches over here on the line today. And don't forget about Patreon. You can support us on Patreon, and that's a good thing to do. And there's Patreon credits that are rolling by that you can see all of the people that support us. Aren't they cool? Thanks, guys. You guys are the best. Here's Patreon producers. Look at you guys. You guys are the extra best. And wow, the list is getting long. It's very exciting. That's some people are actually listening.
It's just the Patreon producers. Okay. It's just the top tier.
Make the list longer then. Make the list longer then, guys. We need a longer list.